Last week, Tech Radar said, published an article titled Built versus Bought: Why Pre-Built Systems Are Always Superior to Custom Gaming PCs. It starts by giving some background on Zach as someone who loves to build rigs and even encourages people to keep building them, before immediately 180ing and saying the following. The honest truth is that unless you're an IT god who spent years pruning over every little detail of system building with intimate knowledge of all the latest and greatest hardware and its caveats, you're just not going to be able to compete with a consummate professional whose day job it is to build gaming PCs. It's like comparing your dad's famous chili con carne recipe to Gordon Ramsay's. The article does highlight some real issues from building your own PC, such as that it can be tough to get stock of the latest and greatest if that's what you're after, especially because SIs can often have deals that guarantee them better stock on those parts, although as we discussed earlier, not always. It also talks about QC from system integrators, which, yes, can be a big advantage to making sure that your computer arrives in working conditions. But if you've ever seen our Secret Shopper series, you'll know that QC can miss things, including things that Zach highlights that you won't have to worry about, like BIOS updates, cable management, cooling, and overclocking. There is one more comparison at the end of the article, and I quote, "It's like your car, right? You're always going to get the folk who go around and build their own, tweak the ones they've got, and get ridiculous horsepower out of an engine in ways that shouldn't be possible, usually for some ridiculous investment of time or sum of money along the way. Or alternatively, you could save the drama and just buy a 400 horsepower EV or whatever your engine of choice is, straight off the shop floor with few issues of any, and do 100 miles per hour in less than 5 seconds." End quote. Elijah puts in here, "I found this quote funny because Jake T and I looked and there's no such thing as a 400 horsepower EV that can do that." Our discussion question here is, as easy as it is to see the headline and possibly get upset, can you think of any other reasons that pre-builts are better? I would say the main one for me comes down to support after the fact. Like if their support sucks, then I see no reason to buy a pre-built whatsoever. But if their support is good or offers types of support that you need, like if you're buying it as a business and you need on-site service, I could see a pre-built making sense for that. Otherwise, I don't know, man. I do think things can be very confusing, and we do rail against sort of the misleading naming schemes that manufacturers use, and the way that specs get obfuscated more and more and more
with pre-builts.
But yeah, that's the thing is I think I don't see the difference between talking to an SI and asking them to advise me on buying a pre-built PC or talking to a sales rep at a computer parts store and asking them to advise me on building a computer. And honestly, I think comparing, as someone who builds computers to Gordon Ramsay is like kind of ridiculous.
Yeah. Maybe you're comparing it to like the Gordon Ramsay restaurant in the airport.
Building computers, like, it's not as easy as some people make it out to be if you have never done it or you don't do it on the regular, but it isn't rocket science. And I've gotten a kick out of like SIs over the years that will introduce their system builders as like PC engineers or like system building engineers or whatever. Like here in Canada, engineer is a protected term. You actually have to like have an education up to a standard to call yourself an engineer, but in other places it's not necessarily the case, and there is nothing engineer about configuring a computer and putting it together. That's not engineering. So yeah, it can be a little bit challenging when you're just getting your feet wet, but no, I don't think I can agree with this headline, and yeah, it's not engineering.